They say money can buy silence, but what happens when the woman you betrayed refuses to stay quiet? I'm about to expose the Monaco billionaire who thought he could destroy me after I discovered his darkest secrets. This is my story of survival, revenge, and ultimate victory. If you're tired of powerful men thinking they can silence women, especially black women, then you need to hear this story. Hit that like button right now if you're ready for the truth. And subscribe because this channel is where we expose the lies of the elite. You know, looking back now, I should have seen the red flags from day one. But when you're a successful black woman in corporate America, working your way up in marketing for 15 years, and suddenly the most powerful man in the room can't take his eyes off you, it's intoxicating. It makes you feel like maybe, just maybe, you finally made it. It was October 2022 at a charity gala in Monaco. I was there representing my firm, networking with potential European clients when I first saw Antoine Dubois. If you don't know that name, you should. His worth over $3 billion, made his fortune in tech startups and real estate across Europe. The media painted him as this brilliant entrepreneur, this eligible bachelor who dated supermodels and donated millions to charity. I was standing by the champagne table trying to make small talk with some investment bankers when he approached me, 6 feet tall, impeccably dressed in what I later learned was a custom Tom Ford suit worth more than my monthly salary. His opening line: "You're the most beautiful woman in this room. And I bet you're also the smartest." Now I've heard pickup lines before, but something about the way he said it, the confidence in his voice, the way his blue eyes seemed to see right through me. I was hooked. We talked for 3 hours straight that night. He told me about his companies, his vision for the future, how he was looking for someone intelligent to share his world with. He made me feel like I was exactly what he'd been searching for. By the end of the evening, he had my number and a promise that I'd have dinner with him the next time I was in Europe. What I didn't know was that he'd already done a complete background check on me before he even walked over. He knew about my MBA from Northwestern, my track record at the marketing firm, even my college GPA. This wasn't a chance encounter. It was a calculated move. The courtship that followed was like something out of a fairy tale. If fairy tales included private jets and 5-star hotels. Within 2 weeks, he was flying me to Paris for weekend getaways. Within a month, I was staying at his penthouse in Monaco, looking out at yachts worth more money than most people see in a lifetime. He showered me with gifts, designer clothes, expensive jewelry, first-class travel to places I'd only dreamed of visiting. But it wasn't just the money that drew me in. Antoine was charming in a way that felt effortless. He remembered everything I told him. Asked about my work, my dreams, my family back in Chicago. He made me feel seen in a way I'd never experienced before. When you're a black woman climbing the corporate ladder, you get used to being overlooked, underestimated, talked over in meetings. With Antoine, I felt like the most important person in the world. The first red flag should have been how quickly he wanted me to move in with him. 3 months after we met, he was practically begging me to quit my job in New York and relocate to Monaco permanently. "I'll take care of everything," he said. "You don't need to work anymore. Just be with me." At the time, it felt romantic. Looking back, I realized it was about control. I kept my job, but started spending more time in Monaco, working remotely when possible. His penthouse was like something out of Architectural Digest. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Mediterranean. Original artwork worth millions. A wine cellar that could stock a small restaurant. He loved showing it off, especially when his wealthy friends came by for dinner parties. That's when I started noticing the subtle racism. It wasn't overt. Antoine was too sophisticated for that, but it was there in the way his friends looked at me. The surprise in their voices when they realized I was educated, successful in my own right. They'd make comments about how exotic I was, how lucky Antoine was to have found someone so different. When I'd contribute to conversations about business or politics, they'd seem shocked that I had opinions, that I knew what I was talking about. Antoine never defended me. He'd just smile and change the subject. Like my discomfort was something to be managed rather than addressed. When I brought it up privately, he'd dismiss my concerns. "They're just not used to someone like you," he'd say. Give them time. Someone like me. The words stung every time. But the real Antoine started emerging when we were alone. He was obsessive about his image, his reputation. Everything had to be perfect. His appearance, his homes, his business dealings, even me. He'd critique my outfit choices, suggest I straighten my hair for certain events, comment on my weight if I gained even a few pounds. He disguised it as care, as wanting me to fit in better with his world. The controlling behavior escalated gradually. He wanted to know where I was at all times, who I was talking to, what I was working on. He installed tracking apps on my phone for my safety since I was new to Monaco. He had opinions about my friends back home, suggesting they were jealous of my success and trying to hold me back. Slowly, systematically, he was isolating me from everyone and everything that had made me who I was. Then came the night that changed everything. It was March 2023, and Antoine had been acting strange for weeks, taking mysterious phone calls in different languages, having hushed conversations with men in expensive suits who visited the penthouse. I'd asked him about it, but he brushed me off with vague explanations about business expansion and new opportunities. He'd gone to Geneva for what he called a business meeting, leaving me alone in the penthouse. I was using his computer to check my work email when I accidentally clicked on the wrong folder. What I found made my blood run cold. Encrypted files with names like Cayman Holdings, Swiss Revenue, and Art Acquisitions filled the screen. When I managed to open them, I discovered a web of financial crimes that spanned multiple countries and involved tens of millions of dollars. Antoine wasn't just wealthy. He was stealing wealth on a massive scale. The tax evasion alone was staggering. He had shell companies in 7 different countries, all designed to hide income and avoid paying taxes. But that was just the beginning. He was laundering money through fake art sales, buying paintings for millions, then selling them to his own companies at inflated prices to move dirty money around the world. The worst part was discovering how he'd been bribing European officials to secure government contracts. There were email chains showing payments to politicians, judges, even law enforcement officials. He had an entire network of corruption that allowed him to operate above the law. I sat in that chair for hours, printing out documents, copying files to a flash drive, my hands shaking as I realized the magnitude of what I'd discovered. This wasn't just financial fraud. This was organized crime at the highest level. And I was living with the man at the center of it all. When Antoine returned from Geneva the next morning, I tried to act normal, but he could tell something was wrong. I've never been good at hiding my emotions, and the weight of what I knew was crushing me. That evening, as we sat on his terrace overlooking the harbor, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I confronted him. I know about the shell companies, I said quietly. I know about the money laundering, the bribes, all of it. The transformation in his face was terrifying. The charming, sophisticated man I thought I loved disappeared, replaced by someone cold and calculating. His voice dropped to a whisper, but every word was filled with menace. You don't know anything, he said. And if you're smart, you'll forget whatever you think you saw. But I couldn't let it go. Antoine, this is serious. You're stealing millions of dollars, bribing government officials. People could get hurt because of what you're doing. That's when he grabbed my wrist, his fingers digging into my skin hard enough to leave bruises. Listen to me very carefully. He said, you are going to delete whatever you copied. You're going to forget this conversation ever happened, and you're never going to speak about this to anyone, because if you do, I will destroy you in ways you can't even imagine. I spent the next 3 days in that penthouse like a prisoner. Antoine watched my every move, monitored my phone calls, even accompanied me to the bathroom. He was making arrangements, he said. Arrangements for what I didn't want to know. On the 4th morning, while he was in the shower, I grabbed my passport, the flash drive with the evidence, and what little cash I had, and ran. I didn't pack clothes. Didn't say goodbye. I just ran to the airport and bought a ticket on the first flight back to New York. I thought escape meant safety. I was wrong. Within 48 hours of returning to New York, my world started falling apart. My credit cards were suddenly declined. My bank called to inform me that my accounts had been frozen due to suspicious activity. My boss at the marketing firm called me into her office to tell me that anonymous complaints had been filed against me, alleging financial impropriety and questioning my visa status during my time in Europe. It didn't stop there. My landlord received calls claiming I was involved in international money laundering. My college roommate, my best friend since freshman year, called me crying because someone had contacted her employer, suggesting she was connected to criminal activity through her association with me. Antoine was systematically destroying my life, using his wealth and connections to make me unemployable, unhousable, and completely isolated. The message was clear. This was what happened to women who crossed him. For 2 months, I lived in a nightmare. I moved in with my sister in Chicago, watching helplessly as my career and reputation crumbled. I applied for dozens of jobs only to have offers mysteriously rescinded after background checks. I couldn't rent an apartment, couldn't get credit, couldn't even open a new bank account. But Antoine made one crucial mistake. He underestimated me. During those dark months in Chicago, I wasn't just feeling sorry for myself. I was planning. I reached out to investigative journalists, financial crime experts, anyone who would listen to my story. Most dismissed me as a bitter ex-girlfriend with an axe to grind. But a few saw the potential in what I was offering. I connected with other women through online forums, women who'd had similar experiences with powerful men who tried to silence them. We shared resources, legal contacts, emotional support. I learned I wasn't alone in this fight. The breakthrough came when I met Rachel Thompson, an investigative journalist who specialized in financial crimes. She looked at my evidence and immediately understood its significance. This isn't just about one corrupt billionaire, she told me. This is about an entire system that allows people like him to operate with impunity. Together, we spent 4 months building an airtight case. We verified every document, traced every transaction, contacted sources who could corroborate the evidence. Rachel connected me with financial investigators in 3 different countries, all of whom had been trying to build cases against Antoine for years, but lacked the inside evidence I could provide. The decision to go public wasn't easy. I knew it would paint a permanent target on my back. But I also knew it was the only way to stop him from doing this to other women. In September 2023, Rachel published her investigation in a major international newspaper. The headline read, "Monaco Billionaire's Empire Built on Fraud and Corruption." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within hours, the story was picked up by news outlets around the world. Social media exploded with support from women sharing their own stories of powerful men who tried to silence them. The hashtag Break the Silence started trending globally. But more importantly, law enforcement took notice. Within a week, investigators from the FBI, Europol, and the French Financial Crimes Unit had opened formal investigations. Antoine's assets were frozen in multiple countries. His penthouse in Monaco was raided along with his offices in London and Geneva. The legal proceedings it all moved faster than anyone expected. When there's undeniable evidence and multiple law enforcement agencies working together, even the most expensive defense team can't manufacture reasonable doubt. In March 2024, almost exactly 1 year after I uncovered those files, Antoine Dubois was arrested. The charges were staggering: tax evasion, money laundering, bribery, racketeering. I became the key witness in his trial. Walking into that courtroom and facing the man who once tried to destroy me was both the most terrifying and the most empowering moment of my life. As I testified about his crimes, his threats, and the calculated campaign he launched to silence me, I watched the mask slip. The confident, untouchable image he had built for years began to fall apart in real time. The jury deliberated for less than 6 hours. Guilty on every single count. Antoine Dubois was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison and ordered to pay more than $200 million in fines and restitution. Today, my life looks nothing like it did 2 years ago. I walked away from corporate marketing and founded a non-profit dedicated to helping women who have been silenced by powerful men. We offer legal support, financial assistance, and, most importantly, a safe platform for their voices to be heard. The trauma I endured will always be part of my story. But so will this, I stood up. I fought back. And I won. I learned that no amount of wealth, influence, or intimidation can bury the truth forever, if someone is brave enough to speak it. To every woman watching who has been threatened, dismissed, or made to feel powerless by someone with more status or control, your voice matters. Your truth matters. And there are people ready to stand beside you when you choose to use it. This story is proof that no matter how powerful someone believes they are, the truth always rises. If this message moved you, like and subscribe for more stories about women who refuse to be broken. And share this with every woman who needs to be reminded that she is stronger than she knows.